Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Liz Marden and I'm an animal behaviourist with my company Nature's Therapies. Today we're going to talk about triggers. So what triggers are, how they affect your animal and how you can help them cope better with those triggers when out and about. So in the example I'm going to use a dog, but triggers apply to any and all animals, okay? So a trigger is something that causes your animal to react in some way. And as owners, we often accidentally trigger stack our animals without even realising it on a day-to-day basis. When an animal is trigger stacked, emotionally, they have been loaded with one scary or overexciting event, one after the other, without any time to calm down and relax in between each incident. Now, an incident is any time that your animal reacted with a strong emotion towards or around something with fear or extreme excitement, such as barking and lunging at another dog, or becoming stressed at the vets, stressed at the stormy weather, or being frightened by fireworks. It can also be if they're extremely overexcited and they get overexcited at meeting lots of people or lots of other dogs, other animals, etc. So now we know what a trigger is and we know what instants are, we can now talk about the stacking part. So animals, same as people, have a stress bucket, which I'm sure you will have heard of. If not, a stress bucket is as the diagram shows here, with the blue bucket and the red and orange boxes going into it, okay? So the bucket can only be filled up a certain amount of way before it overflows. Each stress or stressor or trigger can go into the bucket, filling it up. And if there is no release, it overflows, and that's when you get an extreme reaction. Okay, so in this example, it's a dog. So Mum was very tense on the walk today, so I had to be on guard. So often, if you have a reactive animal, then you're going to be preempting them reacting. So you're going to be a little bit worried if you see another dog, and they can pick up on that. I was very wound up on the walk, pulling on my walking equipment. Dogs that really pull on lead are already experiencing quite high levels of stress, whether that be overexcitement or fear or whatever emotion is going through them at that time, depending on the dog and the situation. So they're already kind of up at level 8 before they even have a trigger to stress them out even further. I had to keep myself on high alert on the walk because there was lots of people. So for this dog, they found it quite difficult with people and other dogs. So seeing lots of people was quite intense for them. I saw lots of dogs yesterday, which made me anxious, and we'll get on to why yesterday was important in a second. The hot weather is making me irritable. That can be a trigger, okay, so the weather can affect them. And then the last one that tipped this dog over the edge before he couldn't cope was he saw a dog in a distance, so before it even came near him, he saw it off by barking and lunging towards it, okay? So that's this dog's worry at the second. So, did you know it can take 72 hours, sometimes even more, for an animal to fully calm down after an incident? So remember, an incident is something that makes an animal react strongly, okay? So it could take 72 hours for a dog to fully calm down after reacting explosively, let's say, towards another dog. So in those 72 hours, you can very easily trigger stack that animal without even realising it, especially if you're on a walk where you're seeing lots of other dogs and there's lots of things that are freaking that animal out. If an animal is trigger stacked, it's going to be much, much less tolerant and much less able to cope with things that it finds scary or overexciting. We need to be aware of our animal's triggers so that we can help prevent trigger stacking from happening in the first place and be able to give them the tools they need to be able to change their emotional perceptions. So if you know that you are accidentally trigger stacking your animal due to the environment, you can then work on giving them a tap that they can put into that bucket to release some of those stresses so that they can cope better. So you can think of it as a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being completely overstacked and 1 being okay. Each trigger gets you closer to number 10, and each time you give them a release, you get back to number 1, okay? So every time you have a trigger, so if your dog's afraid of other dogs, every time your dog reacts towards another dog and it's been triggered, you need to find a way to help them cope better with that and help them calm down, okay? it can be as simple as giving them time to relax. So if you know you're in a dog heavy area, it can be as simple as taking them slightly away from that area. It can be playing a game. So it's very difficult to be fearful and happy and playing a game at the same time. If it's not fear-based, it's overexcitement, doing some calm training to get them to calm their minds down can be that tap that is needed. Okay, so triggers are things that cause an animal to react. It can be fear-based, it can be excitement-based. Incidents are anytime your animal reacts with a really strong emotion around something, like barking, lunging at another dog, or becoming stressed at the vets. And when they get stacked, it's where you have triggers one after the other without any relief. And it can take 72 hours for an animal to fully calm down after being triggered. Okay, so we want to add a tap to that bucket to help them be able to cope better and not become trigger stacked, so that we don't see extreme explosions of behaviour.